Question 1 comes from Carol. Hi, I saw one of your YouTube videos during my search for a new cologne for my husband and was so excited to hear you welcome emails. He's 56 and he's been wearing Polo since I met him 32 years ago. I really need a different scent for him. I have been buying samples based on descriptions and I'm not getting anywhere. He's great. He will wear what I like. My favorite from back in the day is Aramis. I'd like something like that but more current. All of the colognes today seem very sweet to me. I'm looking for a masculine scent that is not sweet. Something sexy, warm, sophisticated, woodsy, musky. I got a few Tom Ford samples, Oud Wood, Grey Vetiver, Tuscan Leather. I had high hopes, but none of those are what I'm looking for. Any recommendations would be seriously appreciated. Thanks so much. This is a great question because I recently have been speaking about Polo from Ralph Lauren. And even though when you first spray this fragrance and when you smell it out of the bottle, it smells fantastic. But I think with the reformulations, the fragrance doesn't smell as good anymore in the dry down. It smells pretty funky to me. Sad. It's sad because it used to be a great fragrance and my dad wore it a lot and I stole sprays from him when he was wearing it, although he had a splash bottle. It's a spray bottle now. But you know, this is a masculine kind of a fougere, or maybe I think it's a chypre, come to think of it, a masculine chypre fragrance which settles to a leather, and the leather in here doesn't seem that great. So it's interesting that this person's, Carol's husband, still wears this, and seems like with the fact that she likes Aramis, she prefers the more classic fragrances, and I agree with her with in regards to sweet fragrances. Fragrances have gotten really sweet. I don't hate sweet fragrances, but I generally do not like the mass market sweet fragrances generally. There are some exceptions to the rule. So I thought today I would give Carol some suggestions on some fragrances that I think that she might like for her husband. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Guerlain's Bois Mystérieux here. So this one has classic touches to me. It's a woody aromatic leather fragrance, a great smelling fragrance. It has a very sexy musky touch to it, and it does have that cumin note which blends really beautifully with somebody's body chemistry. So I think this is a great fragrance that I highly recommend. And judging from the fact that Carol likes, you know, Polo, and then also that Aramis fragrance, I think this is definitely something that's very modern that could be appreciated for someone that likes fragrances that are classic but want something a little more modern. So this one also has the bay laurel leaf note, but it's a beautiful fragrance. So that's one that Carol can try for her husband. But this one definitely is very, very modern, but also I guess I would say it's kind of sort of classic. It's from Gucci, Guilty Absolute pour Homme, this one right here. It's a leather vetiver combination, very masculine, definitely masculine leaning, and I figured this is, you know, once again leather here with the fact that Bois Mystérieux is also leather, and Polo, you know, settles to a leather, and I believe Aramis is also a leather fragrance. So this is kind of what I was thinking, but I kind of left off Tom Ford since Carol said that Tom Ford samples were tried and didn't like him. But this was really sort of on an animalic side, but it doesn't go like full-on niche animalic. I think this is designer animalic, so they're not necessarily overly animalic to me, like really smelling like, you know, a civet and things like that. Just I think the leather in here is a little on animalic side. So it's a bold fragrance. I recommend this one, so definitely try that one as well, Carol. Now, one fragrance I spoke about yesterday, Bois Blanc from FRAPIN. Definitely a classy masculine offering with ginger as a spicy, zingy, fresh note, but the fragrance settles to a warmer, woodsy composition or concoction. So I recommend something like this, and this is kind of in line with something like Declaration from Cartier. They're not identical, but I recommend this as well. Bois Blanc from FRAPIN. Cartier's Declaration Parfum once again focuses on spices, woods, cardamom and cedar wood, I believe, are here, and then there's some orangey touch in here as well. The citrus in here, it's here as well. So those are definitely fragrances I recommend for someone that's looking for something masculine. The new H24 from Hermes, definitely something different. It's a minerally metallic fragrance. It's slightly ozonic, but it's different. You know, it's not anything like today's sweet designer mass fragrances for men. And I recommend it. I really find this one to be great. It just tends to be a little on the lighter side as my wearing experience, so be warned for that one. But I think that's a great suggestion for something that would be a great men's fragrance that's very, very modern. This next one's from the house of Bottega Veneta. This is Pour Homme. So the Pour Homme from Bottega Veneta I think is a great leather once again, but this is not the dense kind of leather. Plus it's very aromatic and piney, so this might be a very, very modern interpretation of something like Polo. It's not a chypre. I think it's more of an aromatic woody fragrance, leather, but also one thing about this fragrance is it wears a little light too, unlike Polo back in the day. But I think it's a great fragrance that you should look into for your husband because it's got those piney notes and the leather and the aromatic touches. So that's Bottega Veneta Pour Homme. Now, two fragrances that might lean a little sweet, but I wanted to highlight them. This is him from ZADIG and Voltaire. It's a vanilla, but it's a incense, sandalwood, grapefruit, black pepper. So it's spicy. It is sweet, but I feel like all the other notes kind of like cross out the sweetness of the vanilla, so it's not an overly sugary sweet. It's sweet, but again you have the spices of black pepper, you've got the incense, you've got the sandalwood that's ultra woody, and a little bit of a zing from grapefruit. I think this is a great suggestion. Now this is another one I'm going to speak about that might lean a little sweet. This is PASHA de Cartier Parfum. I'm featuring two Cartier fragrances today. This is a flanker to the original that came out in the early 90s, and this is an Oriental fougere, so it's barbershop, but it has those Oriental touches, so there are some sweet touches, but it's not like a sugary sweet fragrance, plus it's sort of classic leaning, so this is something that you like, Aramis and Polo. So I recommend this one for not only the sandalwood that's in here, but the fougere notes that are in here, and then also the oriental notes. I really love this one. I think your husband might like it as well. So that's PASHA Cartier de Parfum. And then this particular fragrance I don't speak much about, and I recently pulled it out and I really fell in love with it over again. LOEWE is a fragrance house I don't speak much about, but 001 Man in the Eau de Parfum is fantastic. It's kind of a vegetal savory fragrance experience, and there is some light sweetness in there, but boy, this is so good. It's powdery and kind of irisy, but there's some light cuminy touches in there, but the powderiness doesn't come from iris according to my notes. It comes from carrots. Carrots, iris kind of have similarities, so in the end it's a great scent. It's very, very sexy, and I think your husband would really like this one. And last but not least, I'm going to feature Royal Oud from the House of Creed. This is on the pricier side here. I think this is probably the most expensive fragrance. Royal Oud is a great, great cedar fragrance. It has a little bit of a ashy tobacco kind of a base, but it has green notes, and it's very, very woody. I guess it's sexy too, and it reminds me of the cedar trees. Very, very fresh and aromatic experience, but a wonderful, very, very classy, elegant, gentlemanly fragrance wearing experience. My favorite Creed fragrance, Royal Oud. So those are the ones that I think Carol should try for you know, buying a fragrance for her husband. I think definitely get samples first if you can, and maybe have him try them to see if he likes them. So those are what I would recommend.